looking into Luke 8:22 through 25. We're going to be talking about leadership and faith. And so we're going to be seeing a very interesting time because it makes me think of Andrew when he talks about how sleepy and tired he's going to be. Because how many of you have been so tired as soon as your head hit the pillow, you were done? Okay. So you're not setting like hands raised or throw stuff at the computer. If you're not going to talk, throw something. Okay. A little peace sign or this or whatever. Okay. So, how many of you have been so tired you couldn't go to sleep?
Yeah.
Okay, a lot of people don't get that. They don't understand. If you've never been that tired, you haven't stayed up that late before. Because I've been up before to where I pillow and I just couldn't go to sleep because I'm one of those people that has stuff that just runs through my head like crazy. My wife, on the other hand, can fall asleep in her cereal. Literally, pulls her head, boom, she's out. Joe is the same way. I think she could stay up all night and do whatever. But anyway, we're going to be looking at leadership and faith, and I'm going to read that top part real quick. And it says, have you ever been so tired you slept right through a storm? I think everybody in here can probably say they have slept through a storm of some sort. This is where we find Jesus.
Best sleep ever.
Yeah. As the book continues to expand, Jesus finds it harder and harder to find a place to rest or even get a bite to eat. So in Mark 3:20, Peter notes, one time Jesus entered a house and the crowds began to gather again. Soon, he and his disciples couldn't even find time to eat. Luke records, probably from Mary's memories, then Jesus' mother and brothers came to him, but they could not get to him because of the crowd. So that's in Luke 8:19. So can you imagine how hard it must have been to constantly come back to a full house of growing crowds? Where could Jesus escape to get away from the crowds? So we're going to look at that tonight because I don't know if you've ever had to skip a meal or not, or maybe the whole day or whatever, because how many of you have missed eating the whole day? I mean, I have through fasting, but either things come up to where most of you probably only just missed one meal or maybe two. You found some way to eat, drink, or snack something in the day there. And is there any hangry people in the crowd? Like if you get hungry, you are irritable to be around. I am.
Yeah.
I become a bear. I don't know what you become. You're hungry right now, right? No? Okay. So we're going to look at Luke 8:22 through 25. Does anybody want to read Luke 8:22 through 25?
I'll read it.
Okay.
So they got into a boat and started out. As they sailed across, Jesus settled down for a nap, but soon a fierce storm came down on the lake. The boat was filling up with water, and they were in real danger. The disciples went and woke him up, shouting, Master, Master, we're going to drown. Then Jesus woke up. He rebuked the wind and the raging waves. Suddenly the storm stopped, and all was calm. But then he asked them, where is your faith? The disciples were terrified and amazed. Who is this man? They asked each other. When he gives a command, even the wind and waves obey him.
Okay. Anybody want to read Matthew 8:18 through 27?
I can.
Okay.
When Jesus saw the crowd around him, he instructed his disciples to cross to the other side of the lake. Then one of the teachers of the religious law said to him, Teacher, I will follow you wherever you go. But Jesus replied, Foxes have dens to live in and birds have nests, but the Son of Man has no place to even lay his head. Another of his disciples said, Lord, first let me return home and bury my father. But Jesus told him, Follow me now. Let the spiritually dead bury their own dead. 27?
Yeah.
Then Jesus got into the boat and started across the lake with his disciples. Suddenly a fierce storm struck the lake, with waves breaking into the boat. But Jesus was sleeping. The disciples went and woke him up, shouting, Lord, save us, we're going to drown. Jesus responded, Why are you afraid? You have so little faith." Then he got up and rebuked the wind and the waves, and suddenly there was a great calm. The disciples were amazed. "Who is this man?" they asked. "Even the winds and waves obey him."
Okay. Anybody want to read Mark 4:35 through 41? It's pretty short. They're all pretty short. Okay, I'll read it. As evening came, Jesus said to his disciples, "Let's cross to the other side of the lake." So they took Jesus in the boat and started out, leaving the crowds behind. Although other boats followed, but soon a fierce storm came up. High waves were breaking into the boat, and it began to fill with water. Jesus was sleeping at the back of the boat with his head on a cushion. The disciples woke him up, shouting, "Teacher, don't you care that we're going to drown?" When Jesus woke up, he rebuked the wind and said to the waves, "Silence, be still." Suddenly the wind stopped and there was a great calm. Then he asked them, "Why are you afraid? Do you still have no faith?" The disciples were absolutely terrified. "Who is this man?" they asked each other. "Even the wind and the waves obey him." So same story, a little bit different view of each one of them. So in this, your first question is list what you feel are the major details of this. So of this story, what are the major details that you see here?
Jesus always asks about their faith, is what I put down.
Okay.
Jesus was sleeping during the storm.
Okay, Jesus is asleep during the storm. So there's a detail. Anything else?
In all three stories, they were scared.
Okay. Scared because of a
So,
storm. So there's your other detail. Okay, we're going to get educated on what details are. Details are things that are events in the story or whatever. So you see in Matthew, he gets to talking to the guy about wanting to follow him. So Jesus lays out what it's like to be him. He lays out what it's like to follow him. And so, I mean, to tell this guy that he can't go bury his dead is kind of rough because well, I just buried my mom last year, and if somebody told me to leave that and not and to go do something else, I'd probably fight him on it. So Jesus explains to a guy how tough it is to follow him. So then you see Jesus tell his disciples, "Let's get into a
no.
boat." So they get into a boat. Are boats something that are really stable, or can they be swayed this way or that way?
They can be moved any way you want them to.
So got a guy who's trying to figure out how to follow Jesus. You got guys who are following Jesus, and then you have them get into a boat to go to the other side. Did they ask any questions? If they did, it doesn't record any. They just willingly got in the boat with Jesus and they left. And then in the middle of leaving with Jesus, a storm happens. And so one of the details is, I mean, I love the part to where Jesus had his head on a cushion. I preached on that, called My Pillow. Okay, so if you remember me preaching on that message, that was mine for My Pillow. And so Jesus is the first documentation of a My Pillow, I'm sure. I'm just kidding, but because somebody will watch this and say Doug's adding to scripture. But anyway, it's not what I'm doing. Jesus is asleep. Jesus has no problem with what's going on because Jesus knows everything's going to be
Okay.
fine. It's going to be good. So Jesus is showing them how to relate or how to even act during trouble that you have no control over. Because if I'm out on a boat, do I have any control over what the weather's doing?
No.
No, because it's raining right now on Lainey. Lainey's driving. It's raining on her. Does she have any power to go, stop?
No.
No. She has windshield wipers. She has the
Get away.
decision to keep moving or to stop. But Jesus gets up and he's like, we're not going to die. We're going to keep going. But even if we do die, where are we going to go? Heaven. Okay. So, because I just went to a visitation today where the gentleman there, I know he knows the Lord is his Savior. It is a sad deal, but is it also something you can rejoice about?
Yes.
Yeah, because he's in heaven. So you have all this stuff. Jesus stands up, tells the wind and waves to be still. So Jesus, another detail is Jesus has authority over everything on the earth. And so you have that detail. And then you have the detail of Jesus looking at them and going, where is your faith at? Because if I'm down here sleeping, if I'm down here chilling out, chillaxing, saying it's no problem, why are you freaking out? Now I do that, okay? Because we all do that. We know God's got control. It's like we believe that God can move a mountain, but we don't think God can solve my personal problems. Does that make sense?
It's like we believe he's great, but not good.
Yes. So anyway, there's a whole lot of details in that story, and I hope you get them jotted down all the way from the guy who's trying to figure out his faith to Jesus who's trying to show the disciples faith. But what did the other side mean to the disciples?
Didn't it just mean like the other side of the island where they were?
Well, they're just going across the other side of the sea, but it kind of seems like they should be getting some kind of relief from the crowds, because the whole idea, half the time when Jesus got into a boat and went out into the water, was to get away from the crowds of people. Do you ever feel overwhelmed?
Yes.
Okay, because in Mark 4:35, it says that as evening came, Jesus said to the disciples, let's cross to the other side of the lake. I don't think just for fun. I mean, we know that when we get to what's on the other side of the lake, we know that Jesus had a purpose to go on to the other side of it. But is it good to get away sometimes?
Yes.
I mean, how many of you feel like you're on a big extended vacation right now, or a staycation, I should say? That's what I call a vacation, where I just stay home.
Yeah.
Okay, so a lot of you feel like you're on this really early summer break, or a really, really long snow day. And
I kind of like it though, not gonna lie. Now I like it. Before I hated it.
Well, it's because you're coming into what should be the end of school anyway.
Yeah.
So I'm sure getting in a boat, getting away from all the people was a big relief. So what was the real problem in the story?
The disciples didn't think that Jesus could save them from the storm. They just thought the storm had control over it.
Because you had two instances where people were struggling with an F word.
Faith.
Faith. Okay. They are struggling with faith like crazy. One guy doesn't really have the faith to just drop everything and follow Jesus. And then you have these other guys who are even struggling with the faith, standing with Jesus directly next to them, sleeping. Because I don't think that it would matter if Jesus was standing right next to some of us in our problems. We'd still have just as little faith. And I don't know. I mean, a lot of people would be like, well, if Jesus was in the room, this would be okay. Well, we see an example of that in the Bible. Jesus is in the boat and people are still freaking out. Okay. I wonder what Jesus would have did on the Titanic.
Oh gosh. Melt the iceberg.
Right. This is a whole different ballgame. The real problem in the story is just people's faith, right? The storm looks major to us because we think a storm can kill you. We think a storm can sink you and everybody will die. But the real, and then even looking at the other guy, we look at the dead versus following Jesus. So the real problem in the story is people's faith, but there are small and large problems in the disciples' minds. They, I don't really know, they didn't really care where they were going. They just wanted to get away from the crowd. And little did they know what was on the other side was even crazier. But we'll get into that later. So why do you feel God allowed this storm?
To test their faith.
Okay.
And to show his power.
Okay. Show who's in control. Show who you need to be believing in. Do what?
Yeah. To show that their faith wasn't where it needed to be.
Sure. Yeah.
That he could do more than what they thought.
It's all good points. Um, so what are the life lessons from this story that the disciples needed to learn? So just to flip that, what are the life lessons that you need to learn from these guys? How can you take from this story and apply it to your own?
To trust that whatever God's doing is for his plan and I have no control over it.
Okay. What'd you have, Natalie?
I was going to say that we don't have really much or any control over where we're at, and Jesus is all powerful, and so we don't have to worry about it.
Right. You know, I have people all the time that will say something like, well, I don't know if this is God's plan or not, or I don't how, you know, if this is God's will, or did God cause this, or God do that. And I've even had people ask me if God created this COVID-19 to push people in his direction or whatever. I don't know. I don't know if God caused this to happen. But what I do know is that everything that does happen here on earth, good or bad, it has to pass through his hand first before it's allowed to happen here. Does that make sense? Nothing can happen on this earth if God does not allow it to.
Yep.
So if he allows it to, does he have something to do with it? Not that he created it, but he allowed it to happen.
Yep.
So he's going to do something with it. Romans 8:28, all things happen for the good. Okay, if you get a chance to look at that. Do what?
Sorry. My internet went out, but I was just saying the verse.
Oh, okay. Yeah, mine says it's been having trouble connecting too. I don't know if it's the weather or what it is, but anyway, we're going to talk about these guys. We're going to move to the next page over, and it says, wow, Jesus must have been one incredibly tired guy to be able to sleep through a storm where professional fishermen thought they were about to lose their lives sailing into it. So that's something we need to realize. These guys were pro at fishing. They had fished in storms before, but for them to encounter a storm that was so bad that freaked out a bunch of fishermen, it had to be really bad. And so, can you see the humanity of Jesus through it all? Of course you can. Jesus got tired just like we do. He got hungry and thirsty just like us. He experienced things physically, emotionally, and spiritually. Jesus was fully human. Wow, that's, of course, we forget that. God fully became one of his own creations like us in every way, yet without sin. Hebrews 2:17, you can read that. The God-man, as he's referred to, needed a break. How does it make you feel that Jesus needed a break?
Relatable.
Yeah. Even Jesus is like, I just can't take these people anymore.
Like, it just shows how much. Yeah.
Yeah.
So he's like me.
He needed a rest from ministry. So mark it down. The bigger the ministry gets, the more intentional you will need to be in getting time away to rest. Ministry can be all-consuming and extremely demanding. You will get tired and need to escape, as Jesus does too, to get refreshed. Because have you ever felt like that? Like, I just need some time away from my Bible even. Overwhelmed. Like,
Depends on how overwhelmed I am.
Those of you who are in D groups or just have your own little Bible reading that you're doing, and then all of a sudden somebody tries to add this to it, and you can have Bible overload. Does that make sense? You can overwhelm yourself with stuff.
Yeah.
That's where I'm seeing a lot of things happening where they're moving from these one chapter a day things or one book a month or whatever things, and they're moving more to smaller sections into just individual verses even. I know Karma told me that she picked up a Word of Life daily devotional book that I talked about a few weeks ago. It is an amazing devotional book. And it's actually the one that I recommend right now for all you students to make it their daily devotional stuff. And just to share with you another really exciting thing, Word of Life contacted me 2 days ago, and they have different Word of Life stations across the world, and Word of Life Australia wants to take your guys' salvation testimony videos and put them on their webpage and broadcast them all over Australia.
Oh my gosh.
Now, they asked me if I thought you would care.
Heck
That's
yeah.
crazy.
And absolutely run with it. Do what you want with it. If you saw me post a video on our Facebook page about the Word of Life with Martin Garcia, that's the guy that contacted me. And he is challenging teenagers to do the same thing you guys did because of what we did. And I thought, that's nuts. So
This is crazy.
your testimony is not only
Yay.
people that view our Facebook page, but now it's going all the way to Australia and across the country, because he says Australia is really, really struggling right now spiritually, and he hopes that your guys' testimonies will help kickstart the youth there.
Wow.
Yeah, so I thought that was nuts. Little old Mission Baptist Church in the middle of Podunk nowhere, and kids are,
We've gone viral.
yes, we went viral in Australia. So if you get a chance, I think Martin is tagged in that video on our Facebook page. You know, send him a message saying, hey, I understand Doug's sending you our my testimony video. Feel free to use it in any way you want to. He'll be so excited about it. He's a super good guy. Anyway, just like what we're doing here, as the movement grows, we'll see Jesus using the Sea of Galilee as a place to escape and recuperate with his leaders. How much of the next year ministry will happen on and around the shore of this body of water? There's a ton of it happens around the Sea of Galilee. Jesus often gets in a boat, not to get to the other side of the lake, but to simply escape the pressure of the crowds. This didn't happen because he did not love people, but because he wanted to be alone with his leaders to make a point. But as the case today, you read about the storm. Mark records that Jesus left the crowds, and there was a number of boats in excursion. There was a number of boats in pursuit of him, because this is what Jesus is trying to do. He's trying to get to the other side, but now he's got all these boats following him. I could just be like, Jesus sitting there going, are you serious, people? Just give me a break, okay? I just need 15 minutes alone with my bros, and then I'll come right back and help you all with every little problem you have. I just wonder. I really wonder sometimes if God goes, I just need a break. I need about 15, I need a Snickers bar, and I need about 15 minutes, just watching my favorite TV show. But there's no TV in heaven, I'm sure, but it's just my joke. I don't know. Jesus had to take a break. So Jesus goes immediately to the stern of the boat and falls asleep on a cushion. He was asleep in minutes. As they move across the lake, the Father sent a strong wind that started to make the water pour in the boat. The leaders were scared for their lives. Can you imagine the conversation between the leaders? What do you think these guys were talking about as this storm is hitting?
Is he gonna wake up? Guys.
I don't even
I
think
just
they
wonder,
were
I guess.
probably concerned. Sorry. I wonder if they were even concerned about what Jesus was gonna do at that moment, but maybe even thinking about what they could do, and then realizing oh my gosh, you're gonna let us die or whatever.
Yes. Yeah, I was thinking the exact same thing, and I had to okay, I got to transition and make this actually how I do stuff when things get rough. Okay, I don't automatically go to Jesus. I'd have been pulling cords to the sails. I've been doing whatever there was under the sun, trying to fix it before I went over there and woke Jesus up. Okay, because I'm a fisherman. I got this. I can do it. I think that's what they'd be saying. I can handle this. And I think, how many of you wonder if Jesus may have just played possum for a little bit?
Yeah.
I just wonder if he just kind of laid there for a minute and goes, all right, I'm going to wait and see how long it is until they decide to ask me for help. Because he knew they were going to do it. I know it. And just for them, they probably even at one point or another going, I can't believe Jesus brought us out here. Has anybody ever said that? I can't believe Jesus has brought me into this. This is not what I said before. This is not
That's
what
how I feel right now.
Yeah. I mean, if you haven't made it there yet, you are going to. You're going to be like, this is where God led me, and this is what I'm stuck in the middle of. I mean,
Why?
I super hope that like Lainey's talking about her job that she's not real happy with, but even the fact that Andrew going into this job, I hope that Andrew has prayed, God, is this where you want me to be? Just things of that nature. And then when you get into it, you're like, this sucks. This totally sucks. I don't want to be here. Because even my first and second year of college, I worked for a guy that I will not lie. I choked him several times in my mind, but he paid the money I had to have to pay my bills. So you are going to have to work for some people probably that you're not going to be that excited to be around or work for. But
Yeah.
God will stick you in the middle of storms. It doesn't mean that he's setting you up for defeat. It means he's going to show you something better, something bigger.
I know it. It's hard, Doug. I just keep telling myself it's one more day in the new car fund. One more day.
That's what I would say for college tuition. It's just one more paycheck towards that. So you want to wake him, but I wouldn't want to be the guy that walked over and woke Jesus up. I wouldn't want to be the one that went, hey, Lord, we're dying here and you're sleeping, okay? I'm not going to
get up.
But do we treat him the same way with our own problems or the situations in our life? We don't feel like that they're adequate enough to go wake him up, aka pray, to say, this is my list. You know, I can either pray earnestly for my children or I can just give God a punch list. Just say, this is my problems. This is my problems with my children. This is my problems with my marriage. This is my problem with my ministry. This is my problems with my job. But am I actually praying about it? Does that make sense? I can tell God how much it sucks,
Yeah.
but can I ask him to help take care of the suck? Okay? A lot of times we just throw a list out. This is what my problems are. We don't ever say, how can you help me deal with it? What can I do? What can I do to be a part of this? A lot of times we're just throwing up our Christmas list, okay? We're like giving Santa what we want for Christmas. We don't take any steps to tell Santa. If you were a little kid and you believed in Santa Claus, if your parents ever had you write a letter to the North Pole, I hate to break your heart, okay? This might break somebody's heart in the room right now, okay? If it breaks your heart, I'm sorry. They never go anywhere.
That's so mean. He's ruined my whole childhood.
Spoiler alert,
Oh my
Santa's
gosh.
not real.
Today is the day I no longer believe
Right. So
in Santa, obviously.
in the next part, it says, after saving the day, Jesus looks at them and says, guys, where's your faith? Luke 8:25, that's the DLT. Where's your faith at? He questioned their faith. He didn't expect them to steal he didn't expect them to steal the storm. He just expected them to know him well enough by now to know that he's never too busy or too tired to save the day. No matter how much you call on him, he never grows weary at helping you. That is why he came to earth. In the next section there below in the limit, it says, got any storms in your life? So just something for you to think about. I'm sure that if Natalie said everything was fine right now, but if she really sat down and thought about it, there might be something festering up somewhere she could talk about. Maybe you have a stormy relationship or a storm at work. Stop fighting the storm and worry about it. Instead, fall on your knees and admit you need a mighty warrior to save you. He waits every day for you to come to the end of yourself and start depending on him. Spend some time today talking to one of your disciples about living by faith in dependence on obedience of the Father. Practice saying, God save the day, okay? In the midst of the storm of your life. So when Lainey walks into work tomorrow, she's going to say, God save the day. As soon as she punches that time card or on the computer or whatever it is she does to check in, for some of you, whatever that is that you're doing tomorrow, I want you to say these words, God save the day. Is it easy?
More like God save my coworkers' souls.
Yeah. But just don't throw it out there like it's God save the day and then just walk off and leave it. Okay. Earnestly mean, God, I need you to save the day. Okay. I need you to save me from choking my coworkers. I need to save you to save me from rude customers or whatever it is you're dealing with, because it can get to be, if you can find a job out there where you don't deal with people, I'd like to know about it.
Me too. The plants are fine. The people are the crazies.
Yeah. There's no job that I know of out there where you don't have to deal with somebody, somewhere, somehow. You have to deal with somebody. I mean, you could be a self-employed, self-propelled person in your own house making your own product. You still got to ship it out. You still got to do something. In business, there's two people. There's seller.
I mean, you could study mortuary sciences and then you only have to deal with quiet people.
Yeah, but you still got to deal with people somehow, some way. You got to deal with people. So hopefully you're seeing some examples that Jesus laid out, or maybe even this is just something that is relatable for you right now in your own faith, or how you even look at things, because that's my problem. I can get out of bed during the day and I can go to work, but I don't ask God to go with me. I don't ask him. I don't say right off the bat, okay, God, make today your day. Doesn't necessarily mean I can't get out of bed every day and go, God, make it a great day, and just expect that God wasn't there if something bad happens. I mean, really. I mean, last week I hit a deer with my pickup, okay? If I'd have got up that morning and said, God, make it a great day, and then I hit that deer with my pickup, would you consider that God making it a great day?
No offense, but no.
No, you wouldn't see that. But what we don't know is things like this. I stopped, got out, looked at the deer, looked at my truck, saw that I had a bent bumper and a little bit of damage here and there. But what did God save me from by putting that deer out in front of me to cause me to stop right there? Was there an accident down the road?
Something that was farther down the road that might happen.
Was there an accident farther down the road waiting for me that would have been fatal to me or my wife that was with me if he hadn't
maybe
hurried that deer out into the road? Everything that happens passes through his hands. Okay? I want you to remember that. Whether it's good or bad, it still has to pass through his hands, and God has a purpose for that. If Andrew doesn't get the job next week, it's still passing through God's hands because God has a bigger plan for Andrew. Is Andrew going to see it that way at that time? Maybe not. Maybe super bummed out. Maybe he's sitting there going, you know what, God, wake up. Okay, I'm over here really wanting this job and you're asleep. Because that's what you feel like sometimes. You feel like God's asleep on your problems. Okay? It's even I got to hear my own father whenever my mom was sick and passing away. He said, I prayed like crazy and she still died. Does that mean God didn't answer my dad's prayers?
no.
There's an answer. Sometimes it's no. And sometimes it's because I got things I need to do through this. It's going to pass through my hand so bigger things can happen. Easier said than done? Heck yes, it is. Okay? So,
Very.
yeah, I'm not going to be too critical of the disciples because I don't know which one you would have been, if you'd have been the guy waking him up or if you'd have been the one just sitting over there just willing to just go down with the boat. Because some people are just willing to go down with the boat before they bother Jesus. And that's stupid. It's the same thing with the people who are wrestling with getting saved. Okay? They're in the boat. It's rocking. Excuse me. It is rough and it is going down. And they have a decision. Do I bother Jesus and wake him up because that's what they feel like, that it's a bother? Or do they wake him up and let him jump for joy that they have woke him up for their salvation? So there's so many angles. You could preach on this on so many different ways. You could teach on it in so many different things. It's just a great example of faith and what Jesus and what God wants for his people. So we're going to get into the verses. Have you already been looking ahead and grabbing your verse you wanted?
Yes.
Of course you have. So has Natalie got hers picked out that she wants?
I'll hit 1 Thessalonians.
Which one does
I want Romans.
Harley wants? Romans. Natalie wants 1 Thessalonians. Does anybody want Laura Jean wants Revelation. She's putting an S in the end of it, like Walmart's.
I'll do 2 Timothy.
2 Timothy. Do I have a James?
I'll do James.
Okay, I'll do James 2 if you'll do James 1. Because 4 through 26 is coming up. All right, I got them all.
Then someone has to do Hebrews.
Oh, yeah, Hebrews. Who wants to do the coffee shop chapter? You know, Hebrews, coffee, Hebrews. Okay, it's my joke for the night.
Oh, I didn't get it at first.
Nobody's laughing.
I'll do it.
You pastor jokes suck. Okay, Hebrews 11:6.
And it is impossible to please God without faith. Anyone who wants to come to him must believe that God exists and that he rewards those who sincerely seek him.
Okay. Everybody on here believe God exists?
Yes,
Yes.
I hope so. And one of the ways we show that we believe God exists is through our
Prayer.
Salvation.
F word,
Faith.
Hey.
your faith. So you believe God exists, you believe God will do something. Romans 14:23.
But if you have doubts about whether or not you should eat something, you are sinning. You are sinning if you go ahead and do it, for you are not following your convictions. If you do anything you believe is not right, you are sinning.
Okay. This is one that I think I can have posted somewhere for me whenever I leave the house, before I leave the house. Because if you believe, I'm sorry, it says, if you do anything you believe is not right, you are sinning. So I have seen horrid decisions made by teenagers in the last week. I mean, everything from shooting someone to property damage. I mean, it's been a rough week for decision making for teenagers that I've seen. Most stuff that I've had to deal with this last week has been teenager involved. So everything from internet stuff to you name it, and it's just been a rough week. And some of them I know personally.
Hope it's not someone you know.
I know them well. Okay, they're just making really dumb decisions, and I'm hoping they get that fixed. 1 Thessalonians 5:24.
I will make this happen, for he who calls you is faithful.
You'll have to read that again. My daughter's making a lot of noise.
Sorry. God will make this happen, for he who calls you is faithful.
Okay. Who's going to make it happen? He. And we all know who he is, okay? 2 Timothy 2:2-13.
You've heard me teach things that have been confirmed by many reliable witnesses. Now teach these truths to other trustworthy people who will be able to pass them on to others. Endure suffering along with me as a good soldier of Christ Jesus. Soldiers don't get tied up in the affairs of civilian life, for then they cannot please the officer who enlisted them. And athletes cannot win the prize unless they follow the rules. And hardworking farmers should be the first to enjoy the fruit of their labor. Think about what I am saying. The Lord will help you understand all these things. Always remember that Jesus Christ, a descendant of King David, was raised from the dead. This is the good news I preach. And because I preach this good news, I am suffering and have been chained like a criminal. But the word of God cannot be chained, so I am willing to endure anything if it will bring salvation and eternal glory in Christ Jesus to those God has chosen. This is the trustworthy saying. If we die with him, we will also live with him. If we endure hardship, we will reign with him. If we deny him, he will deny us. If we are unfaithful, he remains faithful, for he cannot
deny who he is.
Okay. This is a really good set of verses even for right now in the time that we're living in with this situation. Because right now we're in quarantine. And one of the things I love that Greg Steer put this book out a few weeks ago, it says you can't quarantine the gospel. Okay. You can't chain, like Paul says, you can chain me up, but you can't chain God's work. You can't chain what God is doing. And I love how he says that this has been talked about before, and I'm just bringing it to you again. These are the things that we've seen happen. So we have to give witness in this time, and we have to talk about. That's why I really want you guys to put those videos together about what God is doing in your life right now. Because that was something that me and Martin talked about. Is I said, hey, just to help teenagers relate with right now what God has, what struggles they've been dealing with, and what God has been doing in their life through this quarantine. Because we want to show the world that you cannot quarantine the gospel of Jesus Christ, that it still goes forward. It's kind of like them taking your guys' videos and sending them out across Australia, because you can't quarantine the gospel. It still finds a way, and we're just doing it through social media because that's the biggest avenue that there is to reach people. So a really good set of verses to even apply in life right now. James 1, 5 through 6.
If any of you lack wisdom, let him ask of God, who gives to all liberally and without reproach, and it will be given to him. But let him ask in faith, with no doubting, for he who doubts in life, a wave at the sea, driven and tossed by the wind.
Okay, so this is what it looks like for somebody who doesn't have faith. Because what's it describing that the wind is doing to this person?
Making them doubt.
Well, it's just tossing them back and forth. Has anybody ever, I'm sure you've seen videos on TV or whatever of boats being tossed around by storms. I mean, there's these different shows called Deadliest Catch, and there's different movies about the perfect storm and all kinds of things where they have boats that are being tossed back and forth. And that's what a person without faith looks like. Just a wreck. I mean, like they're just being thrown from this side to this side, and there's no structure in their life. There's nowhere. It's all short term, because if the wave blows you to this side and you stay over there, it's okay, because now you're not being tossed around. But nope, it's just shifting you back the other direction. So just a good picture of what a life without faith looks like, because I look at lots of things that go on in the world and go, I don't know how these people who don't have Jesus handle this. Because it sucks. James 2, 14 through 26 is mine. And it says, what good is it, dear brothers and sisters, if you say you have faith, but you don't show it by your actions? Can that kind of faith save anyone? Suppose you see a brother or sister who has no food or clothing, and you say goodbye and have a good day, stay warm and eat well, but then you don't give that person any food or clothing. What good does that do? So you see, faith by itself isn't enough. Unless it produces good deeds, it is dead and useless. Now, someone may argue, some people have faith, others have good deeds. But I say, how can you show your faith if you don't have good deeds? I will show you my faith by my good deeds. You say you have faith, for you believe that there is one God. Good for you. Even the demons believe this, and they tremble in terror. How foolish can you see that faith without good deeds is useless? Don't you remember that our ancestors, Abraham, was shown to be right with God by his actions when he offered his son Isaac on the altar? You see his faith and his actions work together. His actions made his faith complete. And so it happened, just as the scriptures say, Abraham believed God, and God counted him as righteous because of his faith. He was even called the friend of God. So you see, we are shown to be right with God by what we do, not by faith alone. Rahab the prostitute is another example. She was shown to be right with God by her actions when she hid those messengers and sent them safely away by a different road. Just as the body is dead without breath, so also faith is dead without good works. Now, I know that we preach like crazy that you can't make it to heaven off of your actions, right?
Mm-hmm.
Your good works, you could be the best person in the world, and it doesn't matter. You're still not going to get into heaven. But when it's talking about faith is dead without good deeds, if you have Jesus Christ in your heart, what should you be wanting to do?
Good things.
But you should be wanting to serve God. You should be wanting to spread the gospel. You should be wanting to donate your time to the church, your community, whatever it takes to spread the gospel of Jesus, whatever it takes to further his kingdom. We should be wanting to do that. So that's why they question this at all. It's like, okay, if you're saved, if you say you're saved, why are you not following the instructions that the Bible gives you, which Jesus in his Great Commission, go share the gospel, go tell people about this. And so that's why one of the things that that's why I love Dare to Share with the Dare to Share Live and Lead the Cause, is because it pushes you to do what the Bible is actually telling you to do. Because there are a bunch of Christians walking around right now with salvation, but they're not doing anything with it.
Yes.
I've got my fire insurance, so I'm okay. Okay. Sometimes I even look at those people who get saved and they're not doing anything with their salvation, and I wonder if that salvation's even real.
Yep.
Does that make sense? And I'm not saying that every person that's out here that's going to church, says they got saved, and is just warming a pew is not going to heaven. That's not what I'm saying. But I'm saying it makes me wonder, was that salvation even real for them? Because they have no desire to even be a part of a Bible study. They have no desire to go to church. They have no desire to lead their family to Christ. They have no desire to lead a coworker, a friend, whatever it is. They have no desire to show what their faith is all about. So it makes me wonder, do you really believe does God exist? Or are you just pretending that it's a fairy tale land and you hope that's what happens to you when you die?
Are we still going to lead the cause, Doug?
No, Lead the Cause is canceled.
Completely?
Completely.
So not the audio,
They're going to do the virtual one in July.
Is that where you just watch it from your home?
No, we're going to do it here at the church probably, or somewhere else.
Okay.
We're waiting to see what happens. So
Okay.
I just wanted to explain that works part to you, because I know that we talk about our sins cannot be removed by good deeds.
Yeah, I was wondering that, and I was like, is that right?
Yeah, that's just how it works. So Revelations 19:11 is my daughter's. Since her mother dropped her off here and left, she doesn't have her stuff with her. 19:11.
Then I saw heaven open, and a white horse was standing there. Its rider was faithful and true. For the judges fairly and
Wages.
Wages a righteous.
Okay, so, and just to let you know who in Romans 19:11, could you hear her okay?
Yeah.
Okay, she talks so soft. Speak up. When it talks about the faithful and true, it's talking about Jesus, okay, on the white horse. But it describes him faithful and true. And those are going to be the only people that make it into heaven, those who have faith, of course, those who are true to, when we think of the word true, what does true mean to you?
It's not fake.
Right, it's real. It is what is real. There's nothing made up about it. So that's just the deal. It's faithful and it's true. The gospel is true, and it's our job to be faithful to that and to be spreading that gospel. It's our job to make sure and do everything we can with what God has given us. I'm not talking go out here and just beat on everybody's door tonight and spread the gospel. I mean, it'd be really cool if you did, but we've got to practice our faith. And the only way we do that is if God rocks the boat. I mean, that's just how it happens. If God is not rocking your boat, what happens to your faith? It gets kind of dormant. It gets kind of stagnant. It just starts to smell like sweaty gym socks in your gym bag that you're taking out. I don't know if you know what that smells like, but it stinks.
It's not good.
No, it's not. So I don't know if tonight's kind of helped you a little bit, maybe changed your perspective a little bit on faith or even on this story, kind of gave you just a fresh encouragement, just a reminder. I encourage you to go back and read it again if you need to. But anyway, next week we're going to be talking about sending leaders. So we're actually going to be talking about when Jesus is sending out his people. And it's not going to be exactly what you think it is. So feel free to read ahead if you want to. But I always encourage that because then you're more prepared when we have this meeting. So anyway, that's all I got.